Oh, I love starting off a day like this. We got a monster break, and we're going to use it today. What happened is yesterday it started snowing just a little bit, but overnight when we were supposed to get a giant amount of snow, the temperature went up just a bit over freezing. And you know what I say, you don't have to shovel rain. That wasn't long ago, and I say the leaves were orange, everything was beautiful outside, and pretty much every day decide which bike to ride. Well, now, not so much. And to be honest, in the past, when we didn't have this much rain and inclement weather, just being cold was not a deterrent to the riding, unless it got below freezing. But I'd always be able to get some short couple-hour rides in. But this winter, it's just been wet roads and what they call it, sludge or whatever they call it, combination of wintry mix. But I always try to take what becomes available and make the most of it. And we do have some extra time to work on a motorcycle. Not so much today because I know Karen has plans within plans within plans. And this time of year, hey, I hope your holiday season, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, is as joyous as ours is. We have so much to be thankful for this time of year. And these parts dried up like just unbelievable. This whole thing that I do, I let it dry in freezing cold and put it down by a heating vent. The result, it just works so well for me. And now, it probably wouldn't work if you're in a warm weather climate, but it works up here. Now, I don't know if you can see, this is the wisteria by the pond. If you can see, it's covered with ice. Look at the icicles on it. This is a thing of beauty. It actually is pretty beautiful. Everything is covered with ice. And I put on yesterday's video how sad I was that I never made that ramp into the cellar. And boy, on days like this, I wish I had the ramp and that bike was downstairs. But the rain is still falling, and once I do my maintenance on the pond, I'm going to get in there and hit the coffee button. I think that's actually worth a picture. Wow, that is beautiful. I did not expect that. But again, it's a lot more beautiful to waking up to 8 inches of snow. Pretty cool. And that's what I say about leapfrogging. It means that you've beat the system a little bit, because on a day like this, we're not going to be outside painting. We'll be inside doing indoor stuff. Boy, that ice on everything really does look pretty cool though. Don't see that often. We're inside. This is the magic of the morning. Strong coffee and Christmas Yuletide cheer. No, I don't put vodka in the coffee. Maybe I should. Now we're just before Christmas. Actually, you'll be seeing this video a little before Christmas. And Karen, of course, is in her, everything is decorated, and oh my God, this is what makes the holidays special. And what really makes it special is we're going to see my son Craig from Denver here for a week. Maybe a little gap in a video if we get caught up in some family cheer, I don't know. But my videos that I send out every day, they're not meant to be anything but just a lot of fun and sharing the passion and the lives we all have. And as I come into the shop every day, I have to, it's like a surveying my empire here. Okay, so we have parts. We can let this dry under the heating vent. I'll have to rearrange the parts here. Because of leapfrogging, we have some parts that definitely are ready to buff. And we have some parts that still could use a couple days under the heating vent. And we have some carbon fiber that I've let dry a couple extra days. I on purpose didn't do them both the same day because I want to see if this is resin, not paint. And this buffed out so beautifully, I just wanted to see if there was a chance if you let it dry an extra week or so, it would buff out even easier. That's just for my little knowledge. Now, these are the little parts that I had to repaint because they didn't match the part that we buffed out yesterday, if I believe, and they snap in. So I had to be careful I didn't get paint in by all this, where they just lock in, or else they'll never get them out. Or you have to chew them up to get them out. We still have to do that windshield, and I'm not happy about I don't have the right blade for my saw. You really should have a blade with little baby teeth, because with plexiglass you really don't cut it, you burn through. But anyway, I want this under a heating vent now a couple of days. These should be ready to go. So the overall thing is, and this is what I like about the way I restore motorcycles with leapfrogging. Instead of doing them like the one I did with my H2 and take the whole bike apart, I think I mentioned that the other day, that was terrible. I did not enjoy that restoration at all. When I look back at it, I think, what a nightmare. This just makes it enjoyable. The whole idea of this, just like yesterday, you can squeeze it in between the raindrops, in between the snowflakes, in between the honey-do list. It just works well for me. Okay, so I don't know exactly how the day is going to play out yet. Karen hasn't sent me the marching orders yet. But I know I can get started on buffing out some of the parts. These parts have been drying plenty long. They should buff out very easily. Okay, so for today's project, we're going to be using 2000 grit, Rhino Wet, and this is the system that I've shown over and over again. But I know there are people new to the video channel, and coming up on, I think it's way over 6,000 people now, so somebody must not have seen this. But we have gone back and forth with various sandpaper. This one, for our purposes, seems to work the best. So it's always worth mentioning the rules of engagement. Wet sanding, paint it. This is more than a week old. But if you can let it dry a couple extra days, I know there's a good counterpoint. Professional people bake it in an oven. My oven is at 32 degrees outside, sometime with icicles on it. So my oven doesn't exactly work the way professional people do it. But the result is, I think, the same, maybe even better. That's up to you to decide, of course. But I always start off anything I'm demonstrating, and it doesn't matter who I'm demonstrating it to, somebody in one of my little learning seminars, or I've been doing this for over 50 years, so a long list of people. And I'll bet there aren't many people that build model planes that haven't used some of my techniques anyway. Anyway, that's not the point. Here's the point of the whole exercise. If you see one part in real life, usually you can figure out the rest. This is a complex part, so I always try to get all the flat spots. These parts I'm going to have to do by hand. I'm not going to be able to do around a corner, because a block you'll just knock off the mountaintop. But anything flat, it's always nice if you can use a block. Now, if you see this one time, and maybe you're bored, if you watch tomorrow's video, the next day's video is, again, we're sharing the fun of restoring motorcycles. And it is fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. Or if it's not, you should find something that is enjoyable. And this just happens to be what I enjoy. Some people enjoy making pancakes. I enjoy this. So anyway, once it's flat like this, now these parts I'll have to do by hand. I want to get down into the areas. The whole part really should be flat before we hit it with that buffing compound. And the way you can tell, if there's any little shiny spots, you really have to just hit them with the 2000 grit paper. Now a lot of this you have to do by hand. There's no way around it. But again, for me, I enjoy it. It's like my fish pond. A lot of people think, well, why would anybody want a fish pond? Well, at the end, I'm kind of a workaholic, and at the end of the day, in the summer, I like to sit out in my backyard with a glass of iced tea, or in the winter, I like to sit on my lazy boy and just reflect on the day and reflect on how lucky I am to have the life I've had, and hope that I can share it with other people. And that's all very nice and good, but whenever I get a call, now it's funny, I just got a call from Luciano this morning, and I was telling him about the thing outside, and this is one of the things I love about our A-team. He reminded me of the times we had to take bikes apart, sometime take the tank and things off, and bring the bike down his flight of stairs into his cellar. There's a really steep thing, and one day we put the handlebar through the sheetrock, and oh my God, when Larry DeTuri was alive, the three of us were trying to push a bike up the stairs, I remember, and Larry was a lot stronger than we were. And I think Luciano and I were doing about 2% of the work, and poor Larry was struggling. But these are the kind of things that when you have friends that restore bikes and you exchange your stories, and then you can go on rides, and it just makes it all worthwhile. Anyway, the whole part, I think I've shown enough. You can see the whole part has to be done, and we'll be ready to buff it. We got the whole part flat sanded. I haven't found getting in here to be real productive because I can't get a buffer. And when I go to put my finger in there, I don't get a good polish anyway. So when it's this kind of where you can't really get a buffer in it, or you can't conveniently get your hand, then it's on the bottom of the motorcycle. I'll just rub some compound on that. And I don't want to get the paint real thin up where the screws go. That's another problem. So I really did that, the detailing the best that I can, and it's ready for the 4C product. And the product that we have really good luck with over the last 3 or 4 restorations, a 4CR 8065. And the Harbor Freight buffer, the real inexpensive one, it seems to last through 2 or 3 restorations. And you just go get another one for $15. Now, if you have to buff out a 747 or a Mack truck or something, this may not be the right buffer. But for delicate, small parts, this is a lightweight, and I always have a couple of spares in the closet. Again, they have a limited life, and I wouldn't say for an average person it's forever. But for me, I'm buffing every day, and even at that, they do last a reasonable long amount of time. If you have the coupon when you're all done, they're about 15 bucks. Now, what I always like to do when I know it's the final buffing, the final time I'm going to do a buffing, and hopefully this is, if I'm going to have a chance, I'm going to have to put more clear on. I'm not so fussy, but this is a part, and one by one I'm getting these parts finished that I'm going to have to remember. This is a delicate part. When I buff it, I may have to do it by hand. I got to do in here, as I said. That's a little bit of a, of course I've done the twin part to this. I know that's going to be a little bit annoying. This material is just so nice to work with. The Meguiar's is nice to work with. And there's a lot of other polishes that I haven't even tried. Glenn had some really good stuff here. And talking about the A-Team, I remember the day we rebuilt his garage and painted the floor, and we had a picnic, and his friend made us all a cookout. See, that's what I love about restorations. The people you bump into, they're real motorcyclists. They really get into it. So anyway, am I a real motorcyclist? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm a gefilte fish. I guess that's up to you to decide. You're the one watching the video. Okay, ready to buff. Now, when I start a part like this, I want to do one little segment at a time. I always like to kind of show it in real time. A lot of people don't have a concept of how long this takes to do a part like this. Now I think, and I don't want to get too carried away here, the paint usually comes up very, very nicely. And by the way, you need to have some, I got to get some clean microfibers out of the bucket. These are kind of gringy, but you can see how that, I need a clean microfiber. This one is so full of goop and everything. You think I could break down and buy another box of microfibers? Okay, without belaboring a point, we do have the beginning of a shine. It does need a little more polishing. Always little spots, and one of them is in this little curve. Well, I remember when I did the other part, the buffer doesn't get in there, and I do want that. I don't want to have a dull spot in there. I want to detail this out. This is one spot, really just have to do by hand. And this spot here that I explained that in the time what happened is I sanded in here, and it was very difficult to get my finger it without catching an edge. So I decided I'd just try this and see if this worked. looks like it works perfect. This part here, again, each part to be detailed out. Now, a lot of people think, oh, nobody will ever see that. Oh, I'm going to be at this, all my friends will be riding their bikes and they're going to, you know, nobody's going to check it out. One thing I've learned about people that ride motorcycles, they spend more time looking at other people's motorcycles. Luciano and I always have this, and of course we're both old geezers, so we always get a big kick out of it, that there'll always be some young guy who goes out and spends $20,000 on the latest Zoot Suit motorcycle that he can't ride. And then we go to our gathering at the market or at one of the places at Perry's or wherever, and he parks the bike and says, wow, everybody's going to come over and look at my bike. Oh, it's brand new. Oh, shiny. Oh, it goes 300 miles an hour. And then a guy pulls in on an old RD that's all rusted up. Everybody runs over to the RD or the H1 or whatever. So, but anyway, and when you have a bike that it's something special, something different, something unique, people look at it. And I don't know why people that ride motorcycles think that that's a cool thing. I don't even know if I think it's cool, but that's the way it is. And with model planes, it was always the same way. If you brought out a new plane and nobody had seen it before at the national championships, holy mackerel, you could get killed in a stampede. But I guess it's just human nature. I also wanted to congratulate our good friend for many, many years, John Cafaro. John has officially retired from General Motors, where he was a very famous car designer. Had a lot to do with the Corvette design over the years. And John, congratulations. Now that you're among the non-employed, maybe you'll do some restorations. But anyway, one of the things John did that maybe a lot of people that watch the video don't know, in the years we built the Testarossa and the Novanta, the Ferrari model airplanes, we built model airplanes, believe it or not, based on Ferrari designs. And Les Demet had a lot to do with that, and John Cafaro had a lot to do with it, and we really all commiserated on it. Then when I got the R1 and the FZR, there were years, I think 4 or 5 years, we had those as Ferraris. John graciously donated all the genuine now, these are not their rip-off things from China, real Ferrari stickers, which I still have in the house, and they're hanging up on a wall of honor over there, and to remind me what a good friend John was over many, many years. And John, I hope you enjoy your retirement as much as I do, or maybe more. Now, one of the areas you really can't get with a buffer, down into these valleys, and if you don't get that, it's like a I don't know, it's a sore point of mine when I see anything that's buffed out, even at a car show, say, and they skip a step. Yeah, I like to do it that you look at the whole part and you can't find a mistake. And the only way I know to do that is to be very meticulous and use a lot of that 4CR product with a buffer and by hand both. And at some point in time, it takes time. It takes patience, it takes a little bit of that 4CR, and when you're done, you really have something special. And every time I get one more part done and put in the bank here, put on the work table, I'm one step closer to my goal to having a really, really unique paint job on this motorcycle that people will notice. I'm sure they will. And now, of course, we have a match set that we didn't have before. One more part absolutely in the bank. I just one step closer to having this all this body work. Takes a lot of time before we get into some of the heavy duty stuff like the fairings, the forks, and the wheels, and the tank. So with those parts done, Karen has just given me the marching orders of the day. We have to do some shopping, and I have a list of stuff I need to get at Harbor Freight, so we're going to try to combine both of these trips on a very rainy, crappy day and get that out of the way. I think we'll have one more cup of coffee before we head out to Harbor Freight. Oh, I love Harbor Freight. It's always the high point of my day. And don't ever forget what we affectionately call the windy cream. Windy cream is an important part of coffee. Right, Santa? Of course right, Windy.
Like that.
Wow, look at the ice on the windshield here, ice on everything. Holy mackerel. Woo! What a mess this day is.
We have to sit here for a while.
We may have to de-ice the car. Oh, there's nothing more satisfying than coming to Harbor Freight with a handful of coupons and a very little amount of money. Right, there's what I'm out of, those little cut-off wheels. So many good tools here. Now, I usually buy these out. Oh my God, they raised the price to $4. I usually buy as many as they have. I like to change the pad every time, and it's worth it. So we got some cut-off wheels, we got that. You never have enough stuff. Now it's starting to look like the combination of a long honey-do list and and some really inclement weather. This is really a nasty day. Look at all the ice on these at the edge of the mall here. Anyway, Karen's got a lot of stuff on her list. This may be a very short work day for us, but we're going to get everything done and free up tomorrow. It's really almost a thing of beauty seeing all these things frozen up like this, but I don't know. I don't know, baby. It's a very unique day, a very unusual day. Yeah, it's starting to look like this is going to be a very short day. We may get all our shopping done today. Oh my God, you never know when Karen and Wendy go shopping. And if you want to eat like Wendy and Karen, you got to shop like Wendy and Karen. Oh my God. We going in business? Notice we have to stock up on Wendy cream. Luciano drinks all my Italian sweet cream whenever he's over. Look at that tree as we come home from our shopping. Holy mackerel. What a day this has been. I gotta pass on this information for Luciano especially. This is pepperoni stromboli, and this is from Aldi, and it's $2.99. It is the best stromboli I have ever eaten. Period. From Aldi. You may think we stocked up on stromboli, but look at all this stuff. This is all Karen's homemade. Everything in these containers is homemade soup, homemade meat. Our whole freezer is stocked for the winter here. Just in case there's a nuclear war, we'll have plenty of stromboli. And today in our haul from Harbor Freight, these I just find changing it every time I do a job, especially if it's on a final coat of clear, so worthwhile. I got one of these for doing some rough buffing. These are good. There's certain things they work good on, but for final paint, that's the one I like. And this is something I've just used this a couple times to get bolts out and different things that you need to cut. It's even good. We've cut tires off with this and the heavy-duty Dremel tool. So it has been a day that'll live in infamy. Live in Harbor Freight infamy. Now, whenever you look at my shop from any of the background in any of the videos, to a person who doesn't know, it looks pretty, I don't know, pretty rough and tumble, and it doesn't look like some real high-quality work would come out of here. But because we work in a limited space with, well, inexpensive equipment, and that's the whole idea of my videos, is to make people realize that to do nice work, you don't really need a Jay Leno garage. What you do need, I always say it, is passion. Now on that note, I do know a few people that have some really beautiful garages. Glenn has one, but Glenn also has the passion too. And unfortunately, there are some people have really nice garages, but don't take advantage of it. They don't seem to want to do the amount of work or the quality of work or whatever. Who knows? But I know this seller of this house has worked for me many, many years. We're headed out on the second half of our errand day here. And everywhere we go, the icy trees, it's very seldom see it this way. It is really unusual. Now, I did want to show this because this is a good example. It's a construction site. A good example of leapfrogging. See? The first building, you got the carpenters working. Second building, the plumber's working. Third building, the sheetrock guys are putting the sheetrock in. The last building, the flooring guy is putting stuff in. One by one by one, and as they get to the end, they're leapfrogging their way up to the buildings that are done. And these people are a lot smarter than me and have a lot more money, so the fact they're leapfrogging makes me very happy. But the day isn't over yet. One more stop, and let me explain. This is a cool thing. Hey, I'm just thinking, wouldn't that shopping cart thing make a great spray booth? I could put that on the side of the house. Keep the wind and snow off me. So this is true information. I'm passing on useful information. We shop at Aldi first. We get everything we can, which Aldi's prices are usually a lot lower than ShopRite or Stop and Shop. And then, whatever we can't get at Aldi, we come here and pay list price for. And we see sometime it knocks $70, $80 off the grocery bill. Good tip. And because Karen's a real coupon clipper, we usually come home and we look at how much we saved and shopping at Aldi. But at the end of the day, we've saved quite a bit of money. We can spend it all at Harbor Freight. Good information. Boy, am I glad to be home. Home after this very exciting day. Holy mackerel. Look at that, the ice on top of the wisteria. Holy mackerel. What a day. Now, we didn't plan it this way, but it turned out to be that we got all our shopping done, hopefully for the next a week or two or whatever. And what that's going to do is a really good thing. It's going to free me up to do some more buffing and polishing and maybe even get a couple of more parts off the 650 before my son gets here for his weekly visit. And we are looking forward to seeing Craig and Amy. It should be a wonderful, wonderful visit. And what happens sometimes at the end of a day like today, it starts out going one way, we wind up going another way. And I think back during the restoration of the FCR, how many days I started off thinking I'll do this, and by the end of the day, it was a whole different animal. And so for me, the biggest lesson of all is always stay flexible. And that thing with the construction site, I just made me think. They're building those buildings the way I restore motorcycles, and it's the same thing. It's leapfrogging. But in construction, they call it frog leaping, not leapfrogging. Now, on a freezing cold day like this, before I turn in for the night, I like to look back and remember why we do all this restoration, and why we work on these projects. Because here we have about a 9-month riding season, maybe 8 months, I don't know, where you can pretty much ride every day. And having these bikes all restored and ready to ride makes it all worthwhile. And just having all these videos to watch in the middle of a freezing cold day keeps my heart nice and warm. So this really did turn out to be quite an unexpected day. All this shopping, I'll tell you, what it's done is a good thing. It's freed us up for the next 3, 4, 5 days. I'll have a couple extra hours of shop time to, and who knows what the hell else surprises coming our way here. I don't know. You never do know in my family. Anyway, it's been a freezing day. We still got some stuff done, and we freed up time in the future. And that thing about the leapfrogging, or the way they build those apartments, that's really a true thing. That's really not a small point to make. And I'm sure they're a lot smarter than I am. They have a lot more money, so probably something worth considering. Anyway, we have more parts to buff. This rain might turn to snow any minute. Who the hell knows? And you'll be getting this video just before Christmas. I hope you and your family have a great Christmas too. And thanks for watching.